herd moves like thunder in slow motion, dozens of heavy-footed beasts shifting across the tall grass, their massive frames outlined by the dying orange light of day. At this distance, the mammoths are silent, but the air still vibrates with the weight of their presence. In the thickets above them, motionless as the stones around them, a group of humans watches. They do not speak. Even breathing is shallow here. One scratch, one broken twig, one sneeze, especially from the child crouched next to her father, could send weeks of careful work crumbling like old bone. The girl bites her lip. She knows. This isn't just a hunt. This is an ambush. It began not today, not even this week, but almost a moon cycle ago, when one of the scouts spotted the first droppings near the salt lick to the east. The pile was fresh, steaming even. That's how close the mammoths had come. The elders whispered. Plans were drawn, in the dirt, in ash, in gesture, and in dream. And slowly the strategy formed. No spears would be thrown yet. No traps dug. First, they must watch. Learn. And so they did. They followed the herd at a careful distance for nearly 10 nights, leaving no trace. By day, they slept hidden beneath pine boughs and rock shelves. By night, they tracked the migration, counting footfalls, measuring pauses, reading how the land bent beneath each step. They noted which animals led, which lingered, which calves were weakest. And now, here they are, crouched like ghosts above the plain, watching the same herd they followed for a fortnight. And still, they do not move. Before we dive too deep into this woolly, slow-motion stakeout, let me ask a quick favor. So before you enjoy the story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I want to see who else is stalking mammoths with us across time. Now, turn up the volume, and together let's begin today's journey of exploration. One of the hunters, a tall man with a scar across his cheekbone, shifts a single inch, peering over a flat stone. The herd is beginning to rest. The big bull circles once, then sinks to his knees with a grunt like falling thunder. The others follow suit. A small cheer rises in the man's chest. He doesn't let it out. That was step one. Because the mind of a prehistoric ambush hunter wasn't just about strength. It was about patience. It was about understanding not just where the prey was, but where it would be tomorrow. And then, turning the world around that spot into a trap. The girl at his side reaches into her satchel and pulls out a small bundle of dry grass and charcoal. Not to light it, gods no, not now, but to mark a path later under cover of night. Her job isn't to fight. It's to remember the plan. She's the map in motion. The bull exhales a plume of hot mist. One of the calves shuffles closer to its mother, trunk curling around her foreleg like a vine. The tribe watches, waits, and begins the countdown. Here's your historically accurate fact. Many prehistoric hunts weren't random chases. They were carefully coordinated ambushes that required observation of animal habits, migration routes, and even wind direction to mask scent. Some of these ambushes took days or weeks of quiet tracking and setup. And your strange but true detail. In several Upper Paleolithic sites, archaeologists have found thin slivers of animal bone carved with regular notches, believed to be early tally sticks used to count days, track herds, or even measure distances. In other words, prehistoric spreadsheets. The plan, as it now stands, has 4 parts. 1. The observation crew, that's this current group, monitors herd behavior and decides on the ideal ambush site. 2. A driver team will eventually fan out behind the herd and apply pressure, slowly, not wildly, to steer the animals into position. 3. A blocker team will hide near the cliffs below the ridge, ready to leap from cover and shout, startling the animals into bottlenecks. 4. And then there's the kill team, the strongest hunters armed with sharpened spears and atlatls, who will strike when the beasts are disoriented and trapped. But none of that happens unless the timing is perfect. And timing is everything in a world without clocks. They read it in the sky, in the position of the moon, in the way shadows stretch long across the hills, in the birds who fly quiet when something big is near, and in the stories passed down, how mammoths move slow, how bison stampede fast, how no animal runs straight downhill unless panicked. Another joke around the campfire goes something like this. How do you trap a mammoth? Tell it there's a sail on salt, then shout when it reaches the cliff. Okay. Prehistoric stand-up comedy needed work. The girl places her charcoal bundle back in her pouch. Her father finally speaks. Barely a whisper. Tonight, we move. The herd settles. The plan is in motion. Not all of it, just the whisper of it. The roots of the ambush stretch backward through time, through tradition, through trial and error. Because this isn't just a hunt, it's a test of the hunter's mind. And the mind is ready. They walk at night, when the shadows stretch long and the wind carries the scent of nothing. The girl walks with her father and the others, slipping through waist-high grass like ghosts. No torches, no fire, just starlight and memory. They've been this way before. First on their bellies, then on their knees, and now upright, following the land's veins with quiet certainty. Every ridge, every hollow, Every twisted tree branch is a puzzle piece. The world isn't just terrain. It's a weapon. And they're sharpening it. The ambush will happen here. This wide bowl of land, funneled by 2 slopes and a scattering of thick shrubs, is the chosen stage. To one side, a narrow pass that animals always avoid. It smells of bear and echoes too much. To the other, a line of jagged boulders, placed long ago by landslides and now perfect for cover. In the center, a narrow channel of soft soil worn down by hooves. The mammoths will go through there. They always go through there. That's what the scouts say. That's what the droppings, the footprints, the broken ferns say. But this time, they won't come out the other side. The tribe begins its work. Without a word, they start shaping the land. A stick is buried just below the dirt at calf height, sharpened to a point. Not to kill, but to startle. One moment of chaos is all it takes to split a herd, and when that moment comes, the kill team will be waiting. Others dig shallow pits where the earth is soft, filling them with muddy water and concealing them beneath reeds. A stumbling mammoth might only fall for a heartbeat, but a heartbeat is long enough when a spear is flying. The blockers fan out behind the boulders, each marking their positions with a pile of 3 stones. Simple, silent, unmistakable. The girl watches it all, memorizes the layout. She has no tally stick, no map. Her mind is the map. Her father walks the ridgeline alone. He kneels, touches the soil, sniffs the wind. Then he whispers, "West wind. It will carry our scent if we're not low." So they adjust, positioning the drivers further out, forming a crescent. Now, when the time comes, the herd will feel the push but won't smell the threat. Let's take a breath here for your historically accurate fact. Many early ambushes relied heavily on knowledge of prevailing wind patterns and animal behavior. Hunters would study migration routes for generations, using natural landforms to corral prey into valleys or trap-rich zones. This wasn't guesswork, it was strategy. And your strange but true detail. Some prehistoric hunting groups used rattling devices made of bones and seeds to simulate the sound of approaching predators. These noisemakers were used from behind the herd, not to panic them, but to subtly guide their movement. The first audio engineers, in a way. Back in the valley, 2 young men crouch near the mud traps, arguing silently over whether to add more branches to the cover. One wants thicker thatching. The other says too much will look suspicious. The girl interrupts by simply kicking the edge. It holds. She says nothing, just moves on. The next phase begins, the blinds. These are hunter-made pockets, woven screens of grass and leaves, supported by stakes and tied with sinew. They disappear into the background like camouflage ghillie suits, each shaped to hide a crouched human with a throwing arm ready. Each blind is positioned at an angle, not just randomly placed. They face where the mammoth sides will be, not their heads. Why? Because mammoths charge forward. Always. You don't get a second throw if your first one bounces off that armored forehead. They add a scent barrier too, burnt moss and pine sap rubbed on exposed skin. Not enough to alarm the mammoths, but enough to mask human sweat. The hunters smear it on each other with casual brutality, like siblings fighting with mud. One man grins through the sap and says, "Now I smell like a tree and a corpse." Another replies, "Good." The mammoths love both. They don't laugh, not loudly, but the tension breaks just enough to keep the hands steady. The girl pauses again and listens. The wind sighs, the grasses whisper. Somewhere far off, a branch cracks. Not her people, something else. Maybe a deer, maybe a watcher, maybe just the forest flexing its limbs. Her father taps her shoulder. It's almost time. They return to the ridge, where they'd first watched the herd. The scar-faced man is already there, holding a piece of bark with a crude map scratched into it using coal and ash. He traces it with a finger, the funnel, the slope, the pits, the blinds, the blockers, the drive. Then he points to the sky. Not now, but soon. They'll wait until the clouds begin to cover the moon. Too much light, and the herd will spot the shimmer of skin, the glint of stone, the twitch of nerves. Too little and they won't see where to go. But with the moon masked just slightly, just enough, that's the signal. Here's your second light joke for this stretch of tension. One of the drivers once tripped into his own mud trap while setting it. They had to yank him out by his ankles, covered in sludge and half a frog. He claims the frog whispered hunting secrets. Nobody believes him, but hey, they kept the frog around just in case. Back at the ridge, the girl takes one last look at the terrain. She imagines the movement, the mammoths coming up the slope, startled by the sound from the drivers, funneled by the valley, blinded by the low light, tripping at the shallow pits, flanks exposed to the blinds. It's not just a hunt. It's a dance, a dangerous, dusty, thundering ballet choreographed by Stone Age tacticians with charcoal fingers and hearts full of risk. She closes her eyes. Tomorrow they strike, and the land will not be a stage. It will be a trap. Before dawn, the valley is a painting in stillness. Mist curls low across the grass, softening the sharp edges of the boulders. Everything looks peaceful, harmless, even, but peace is a lie here, because the hunters are already in place. They crouch behind blinds disguised as thorny bushes and piles of driftwood. each one perfectly positioned to blend into the environment. Designed not to be seen until it's too late. No eye contact, no chatter, no shifting weight. Even the birds nearby aren't sure if these strange shapes are part of the forest or something else entirely. The air is still, but under that stillness, something electric waits. The girl kneels inside a tight cluster of tall grass, just behind one of the blinds. This is her spot. She won't throw a spear. She won't shout or leap. Her job is more subtle, to relay. Between the blockers and the drivers, there needs to be someone who can move like fog, who can crawl low and fast, who knows the layout like it's burned into their mind. That's her. The signals are simple. A hand raised equals wait. A stone tossed equals go. A bird cry equals regroup. It's crude, but it works. And today it must work perfectly. At the far end of the valley, near the slope that leads into the soft ground, the decoy team prepares their final gift. They've dragged a half-rotted log into the trail and covered it with a smattering of mammoth hair and dried dung from earlier sightings. From a distance, and remember, mammoths aren't known for their keen eyesight, it looks like a sick calf lying down. Vulnerable. An easy target for a predator. Or, from the mammoth's perspective, a reason to change direction. That's the point. They don't want the herd to stop. They want them to veer. And when they veer, they'll veer right into the heart of the trap. Let's pause for your historically accurate fact. Archaeological sites like La Côte de Saint-Relied in Jersey and the Boxgrove site in England show evidence that prehistoric humans staged large-scale cooperative ambushes, sometimes using features like ravines or natural funnels to corral prey into kill zones. These weren't accidental encounters, they were sophisticated group tactics. And here's your strange but true detail. In some ancient sites, carved or painted animal decoys made from bone, wood, or hide were found near hunting grounds. They weren't religious items, they were bait used to influence animal movement. Think of them as prehistoric scarecrows in reverse. Back in the valley, the blockers are already in their crevices. Each has a few stones and a painted mark on their hand. When the moment comes, they'll rise as one, arms outstretched, shouting and flailing, not to attack, but to startle. The aim isn't violence, it's direction, because panic is a river, and these hunters know exactly where to dig the riverbed. The girl hears the call, a soft bird trill. Twice. It's time. The drivers begin their slow approach, no sudden movement. Just enough rustling and scent to make the lead mammoth raise its trunk. It sniffs the air, pauses, shifts. The herd follows. It begins with a shuffle, then a lumbering trot. The big bull grunts, confused. He nudges the calf beside him forward. They move away from the slope. The decoy has done its job. Now they're headed for the funnel. The girl crawls forward, low and fast, like a shadow with bones. She reaches the closest blocker and flashes 3 fingers. The man nods, touches the painted mark on his hand, and grips a stone. All the hunters are tense now. There's no retreat. If the ambush fails, the mammoths will scatter, the tribe will go hungry, and the entire valley may never again offer a second chance. The ground begins to vibrate. A distant, rolling beat, thud, thud, thud. The mammoths are coming. Closer now? The girl hears their breath deep and hollow, like wind moving through caves. She smells them, too, musky, warm, tinged with crushed grass and old salt. Their feet stir up clouds of dust that sparkle in the low light. She signals again, palm down, slow push, wait. The lead mammoth steps over the first pit without issue, but the second doesn't. Its front foot plunges into the muddy hollow, jerking its whole body forward. It lets out a bellow, not pain but surprise. That's the spark. The bull trumpets. The herd bunches. And from the rocks, the blockers rise, yelling, waving, clapping stones together like thunder. The sound echoes across the bowl. The mammoths, confused and now cornered, do exactly what they're supposed to do. They bolt, straight into the ambush zone. From behind the blinds, the hunters explode into motion. Spears fly. Atlatls whistle. The air is filled with the thwack of impact and the cries of men and beast alike. Not chaos, orchestrated violence. Each throw is aimed. Each movement practiced. The girl stays down. She doesn't throw. She doesn't shout. She watches, marking where each mammoth turns, how they react, where they hesitate. This is data for the next hunt, because the ambush is never about just this moment, it's about every moment to come. Here's your light joke. One hunter tries to stand too fast from his blind and gets tangled in his own grass net. He ends up hopping sideways with a spear, looking more like a confused bush than a threat. Still manages to land a hit. The kill team finishes their strike. One mammoth down, another wounded. The rest of the herd scatters, not wildly but in controlled directions thanks to the drivers flanking the edge. Some beasts escape. That's okay. A full herd kill would be wasteful. They honor what they take. And what they take, they planned for. Silence settles again. Only now it's not waiting. It's knowing. The girl emerges from her spot and walks the edge of the path. She nods at the blockers. At the drivers, now emerging with painted faces and smeared ash. The scarred man meets her eyes. Says only, well done. She says nothing. Just watches the mist begin to rise again, this time over blood and dust and the brilliant geometry of strategy well executed. Because this wasn't luck. It was logic. It was the hunter's mind. The ground still trembles from the memory of hooves. The dust hasn't even settled. The mammoth lies still now, its massive frame curled into itself, as if trying to return to the earth that gave it form. Steam rises from its body in soft wisps, like the spirit exhaling. One of the elders places a hand on its forehead and mutters something under his breath. Not a prayer, just acknowledgement, a life taken, price paid, an ambush survived. But they aren't done yet. The girl squints at the trail behind them. The rest of the herd has vanished into the trees, but the path they left, scattered dung, crushed grass, droplets of blood, tells its own story. The drivers did their job well. Now comes a different test, not one of brute force, but of endurance, instinct, and memory. Because some say the ambush ends when the beast falls. But that's wrong. The ambush ends when the tribe eats. And between now and that first bite, a dozen things can still go wrong. Let's back up a second. How did that moment even happen? That perfect moment when the mammoth stepped into the trap, the blockers rose, and the spears flew. Simple answer, it didn't just happen. It was predicted. The scarred man, who we'll now call Stone Eye, because that's the name whispered around the fires, had walked that trail at least 20 times in the week before. Not hunting, thinking. He dragged sticks through the dirt, made his son wear mammoth hide and walk down the valley just to see how the herd might react. He built the ambush like a potter builds a bowl, turning, shaping, adjusting. When the moment came, it looked like magic, but it was math. Here's your historically accurate fact. Archaeological studies show that prehistoric hunters often worked in teams of specialized roles. Drivers, blockers, flankers, throwers, and that these roles were passed down through teaching and mentoring. It wasn't just instinct, it was tactical knowledge passed like a trade. And your strange but true detail. In some dig sites, researchers found small, teaching toys made from miniature bones and animal carvings, possibly used to train children in strategic thinking and animal behavior. Prehistoric chessboards, basically. Back to the present. Stone Eye gestures and the group fans out again, not to hunt but to guard. One mammoth down means other predators will be circling. Hyenas, wolves, maybe even other humans. Yes, it happens. Ambushes within ambushes. One group does the work, another waits, then pounces. The girl takes her usual place. Low, quiet, eyes open. She tracks the shadows under the trees, listens for twigs snapping, but her mind keeps flashing back. That moment, the rush, the trap closing. There's a secret that nobody tells you about ambushes. They're addictive. The stillness, the planning, the wait, and then the burst, the adrenaline. The primal logic of everything going exactly where it's supposed to. You feel like you outsmarted the world, until you remember that the world is still out there, very much not outsmarted, and probably watching you back. A rustle. She tenses. Not a wolf. A boy. Younger than her. One of the blockers. He holds out a hand, 3 fingers down. It's done. No threats. Safe to gather. She nods and walks to the kill site. Already, the others are moving with practiced urgency. They work fast, not frenzied, but sharp. Every motion has a purpose. Some begin to skin. Others cut meat into long slabs and lay them across wooden poles, ready for transport. The tusks are left intact, for now. Too heavy. That's tomorrow's problem. One of the younger hunters tries to lift a hind leg on his own. It doesn't budge. He grunts. Mammoths fighting back. A nearby elder mutters, "Next time, kill a smaller one." They laugh quietly, but it's real. They've earned it. Suddenly, a shout. Not panic, a signal. From the trees, a shape. Another mammoth? No. Just a loner bison sniffing the blood trail. It watches them, dark eyes wide. Then it bolts. The group watches it go, not worth the energy now, but it reminds them. This valley has more eyes than just theirs. They redouble their efforts. As the sun begins to dip again, the tribe gathers near a flat stone, just beyond the fallen beast. The work is mostly done. They've carried what they could, marked the site, and made plans to return for the rest. But first, they sit and reflect, because the ambush may have ended, but the lessons haven't. Stone Eye speaks, not loudly, not to teach, but to record what worked, what didn't. The decoy log was too fresh, he says. The bull didn't trust it. The mud trap caught one, someone else adds. But not enough cover. They murmur, agree, disagree, mark the mistakes. And the girl, she listens. Every word is a future trap taking shape in her mind. Here's your third light joke. One of the men, still smelling like pine sap and mammoth blood, sits downwind and says, "If I attract a mate tonight, it'll be a very confused bear." The girl leans against a boulder, legs aching but heart alive, because now, she knows what it feels like to see a plan unfold. Not in theory, but in thunder and dust and timing so sharp it could cut stone. And the next time, she won't just relay, she'll design. The fire crackles like soft applause, its glow casting long shadows that dance across the rocks and tired faces around it. The night has settled deep now, black and vast and full of breath. Above, the stars are bright enough to outline the treetops. Below, the tribe feasts, or rather, restores. It's not a feast like you'd imagine with roasted legs and golden glazes. It's rough meat carved hastily, seared over open flame, chewed with aching jaws. But every bite tastes like something earned. The mammoth lies in pieces now. What could be carried has been, and what couldn't will be returned to in the coming days. Wrapped in hides, slung on poles, even carried on backs. The work will go on. But tonight is not for labor. Tonight is for remembering. The girl sits cross-legged beside the elder known only as Riverstone, a woman with silver braids and a gaze sharp enough to strike sparks. Riverstone has seen dozens of ambushes, some gone well, others not. She speaks slowly, never wasted words. She nods to the girl. Tell it. The girl blinks. Me, you saw it all. So tell it. This is tradition. After every successful ambush, the youngest participant who had a thinking role, tracker, scout, messenger, is asked to recount the hunt from memory. Not as a story, but as strategy. Not what happened, but why it worked. She clears her throat, nervous. But then it comes. She talks about the false calf, the decoy, and how it changed the herd's path. She describes the blockers and their timed rise, how the panic rolled like a wave in a storm. She explains the angle of the spears, the placement of the pits, the choice to wait until cloud cover masked the moon. Riverstone listens. So do the others. Even Stone Eye, who led it all, says nothing. His approval is not a nod. It's the way he doesn't interrupt. When she finishes, the silence is thick. Not awkward. Not unsure. Just full. Then Riverstone says, next time, she plans it. A small ripple of surprise. And then a grunt of agreement. The kind that matters. Because now, she's not just the girl who crawled through the grass and waved signals. She's a hunter with a mind. Here's your historically accurate fact. In many hunter-gatherer societies, strategic knowledge was passed orally, often through storytelling and tactical debriefs around communal fires. These weren't casual anecdotes. They were structured memory systems, designed to train the next generation through repetition and reflection. And your strange but true detail. Some early cave paintings, especially ones involving prey animals, appear to be sequence illustrations, possibly used as visual step-by-step guides for hunting or trapping. Think prehistoric comics with deadly punchlines. The night deepens. Now the fire tells its own story. Low murmurs and red light flickering against tusks stacked near the edge of the camp. One tusk has been carved with shallow lines. A new mark. A symbol that this ambush succeeded. It's not decorative. It's a record. A reminder. The girl watches the flickering pattern on the ivory. She traces it with her finger, already imagining how she might change the setup next time. Move the blind half a step back, extend the mud pit by a foot, mask the decoy in older dung next time. She's thinking like a builder, not of tools, but of moments. Tomorrow, they'll return for the rest of the kill. And maybe set traps nearby for scavengers who wander too close. No waste. No missed chances. One of the young hunters hums a song, soft and rhythmic. It's a tune his mother taught him, meant to soothe infants and calm shaking hands before hunts. Tonight, it calms his sore feet and smoke-filled eyes. The girl joins in, not loudly, just enough to carry the tune. This was more than meat, more than survival. This was coordination, precision, trust. There's a joke told among the children of the tribe. How do you make a mammoth fall? Tell 10 humans to push it at the same time. But now the girl knows better. You don't push a mammoth. You pull it in. With logic, with silence, with traps hidden in plain sight, and a mind sharp enough to see 10 steps ahead, even if your feet are covered in mud. The embers crackle lower now. The tribe sleeps in layers, backs to wind, bellies finally full. Stone Eye sits alone at the edge of camp. His hands are busy carving the next plan, not for mammoths maybe, but for bison. Or elk, or something they haven't even seen yet. The girl lies on her side, eyes half closed, imagining a valley of her own design. A trap so perfect the animals walk into it smiling. She'll build it, she just needs time, and the right wind, and maybe, just maybe, a better blind that doesn't itch so much. The last joke of the night comes from the stars. Even the sky couldn't plan a better ambush. And beneath it, the humans sleep, not as wanderers, not as prey, but as the minds that shaped the hunt. The architects of the Earth's oldest chess match. And tomorrow they'll play again.